Hi, my name's Karma, and today I'm just going to be doing a quick tier list on the viability of all of the tier 10s in Deep.io, based on their viability in FFA, because that's all I really play. Two things before we get started: not enough experience category. That is just for creatures that I do not have enough experience playing with or against to accurately judge them. And for the swamp creatures, I do not play swamp very much at all, so I may not have the most take what I say with a grain of salt there. And actually, a third thing, Hermit Crab. Some people that I found out recently choose to stay as Hermit Crab in with a shell on instead of upgrading to a tier 10. Don't do that. Like to each their own. If it's what you enjoy, go ahead. But it's not good. It's very very bad. Yeah. Well, let's get right into it. Starting off very strong with Alligator Gar. Solid, we'll put it an A. It's got fantastic damage. It's not super tanky, not super fast, but the damage is great. Three boosts, which can be chained very easily. It's pretty solid, but it is outclassed by Crocodile in in just about every way. Alligator Snapping Turtle. It does pretty good damage. Um, Pretty good damage. It's tanky enough that it can work with that damage. It's not speedy, but it's got a few boosts. I don't remember how many. And yeah, it's pretty good. But you really, if you're gonna go for swamp, just play Crocodile. Anaconda. This one is one of the themes that will show up rather frequently. Where if you can grab if it's a creature you can grab, you're amazing, and it's brilliant against it. If you can't grab it, it's just you should just run away. C tier. Cockalot, S tier. It's it dominates in the Arctic and in the deep, especially in the Arctic. It does have counters in things like polar bear. Um, but in the deep, it is unstoppable. Nothing in the deep will really touch it. It can bully giant squids. It can bully goblin sharks. Anything can bully goblin sharks though. Sleeper sharks are one of the few ways that it can be counted, but only if you get a bit lucky. You need to have a few extra hits over the cockalot. Crocodile S tier. Um, it's got great damage. It's not as fragile as the alligator gar, and it's got enough boosts that it can make use of them. Its ability to when you shake and it does extra damage, amazing. And the ability to hide as logs is very very useful if used in the right way. Uh, yeah, simple as. Bald eagle, not enough experience. I've never played it before, but from what I've played against and what I've heard, it's really not that great. But again, to each their own. Goblin Shark, I'll put it at a B tier. It's not anything super special, but it does have an interesting ability. Um, it's got an interesting ability that's good against lower levels, but like I said earlier, it gets bullied by anything in the deep. You really, you're not gonna have trouble fighting a Goblin Shark unless they are much better than you. It's pretty simple. Don't play Goblin Shark. If you do choose the Frilled Shark as your tier 9, just go to Sleeper Shark instead. It's so much better. Giant Squid, S tier. We all know why. It being able to grab things and becoming faster while it's grabbed something, the lower your pressure. Amazing, and it's got a stupid health pool at 900. It's got good damage and it's powerful. It's possibly the best class in the game at the moment. Hippo is it's a pretty all-rounded. It's pretty tanky. It's very tanky. It's not weak at all. Its main usage is just that it counters crocodile absolutely brilliantly, and against most other things, it's really nothing special. But being able to counter crocodile pretty reliably is enough to put it at an A tier. Humbuck really is nothing special. It used to be better, but not anymore. It's a bit of a disappointment now. You can't chain stun like you used to be able to, and it's just outclassed. If you're going to go for this, just go for whale or go for cockalot instead. They are better. Manta Ray, I'm going to put that at an S tier, but because of the customization of Manta Ray, and it is very it varies greatly depending on the player and what they like. But a few things to note about it is that it takes a long time to prepare for it, and it can be if it hasn't gotten all of its creatures yet, it can be very abused, and it's not very good. Then if you've got a bad set, it's really just not special. I will link a video in the description for how to play Manta Ray well. Marlin. I've played a fair bit of Marlin, but it's really not my favorite. Its health and its damage are nothing special at all. Its damage, especially for the type of class it is, pretty subpar. It relies on its bleeding for its damage. Its only redeeming factor is its bleeding and its speed. It's pretty alright actually, but but the fact is that it doesn't do very well against any other tier 10. It's pretty good against anything lower than that because it's faster and it's able to do such good damage with its bleeding and its 100 damage, I want to say. But I know it's pretty average. It's against any other tier 10, the problem is that it doesn't do enough damage and it can't face tank well enough that it can deal with any of the other threats. However, some people just like to go fast. Whatever. If you enjoy it, go ahead. Orca, I'm going to put that at an A tier, although it can be absolutely brilliant depending on the player and how they do it. Being able to grab things repeatedly and just ram them into a floor, pretty damn good, especially in teams. In Team FFA, it's pretty brilliant. Piranhas, Piranhas the only, except for Hermit Crab, but we don't have the thing of it. The speed boost is nice, but it's just don't do a tier 10 piranha. It's not worth it. Too low damage, too low health, and the speed is only okay. Polar bear S tier. It's got good health, good damage. It can burrow into the ice, which isn't the most useful ability, but it's good, and it can be useful in some situations. The snowballs, however, are what makes it super good. Even if your opponent doesn't know what snowballs do or how stupid they can be, it's incredible. It's absolutely phenomenal and one of the best things you can play. If they do know though, it's still so hard to counter other than just dodge and hope that when and just wait for him to run out. That's really your only way. That's really the best way to do it. However, admittedly, it does get countered pretty hard by not pretty hard. It is brilliant. It is brilliantly countered by giant squid. And considering the fact that giant squids tend to hang around the volcanoes on the bottom left of the map, and that's where polar bear is, it is hard to get a high score on it because, well, giant squid counters it brilliantly. Sawtooth, great damage. Everything else is pretty alright. It's not bad. But I do not have a huge amount of experience, which is good to note. I'm just going to put it a C tier. It may be a B tier, but I do not have a huge amount of experience with it. Elephant seal, it's an interesting ability, and I actually find it very nice. The underdog type thing. The lower your health, the faster you are, and the more damage you do. It's a very interesting ability, but it's just outclassed by everything in the Arctic, whether it be even walrus. You can do polar bear, cockalot, whales will show up a lot. Orcas also show up a lot. It's elephant seal elephant seal could be pretty good if it was an ocean, if it could go to the ocean, but because it is an Arctic only, and because it doesn't have any really special redeeming qualities, it gets shit on pretty hard by most things. Shark. Shark's had a bit of a rough ride. Used to be absolutely fantastic. Then it got nerfed to hell, and then it's come back a bit. It's absolutely not bad if you know how to use it, but It's still not as good as it used to be, but pretty damn good. Great damage, absolutely fantastic speed when it uses its ability while still having a fair bit of control. Sleeper Shark, S tier. It will it Sleeper Shark can absolutely control the deep as long as there's no good cucklots up there around. As long as you know how to chain your ability well, it will thrash most classes. Yeah, it's pretty damn good. Although, thing to note, don't fight whales on this. Whale will shit on it. Yeah, and okay, soft shell turtle is very simple. It's not good at all. It does have good tanking abilities, but because of how small and negligible its attack is, it just doesn't have. It just can't put it to good use. It will die long before its opponent does. It's nothing special. You're better off if you really want to go for a turtle. Um, then you can go for alligator snapping turtle instead. It's a lot better. Stonefish. Stonefish, I do not have a huge amount of experience with, but from what I have seen playing against it and what I've heard from friends, and just from basic reasoning, being immune to poison is already a big plus because you can farm lion manes very easily, and being able to burrow is also very very useful, and the ability of shooting three poison things behind you which slow and poison enemies. The slow is the big one. Combined with being able to burrow makes it very very hard for you to die. Solid A tier. Sunfish. Sunfish is a bit of an interesting one in the community because some people think it's incredibly underrated. Some people think that it is shit. I I'm kind of a middle ground. I think that it can be used, but it's outclassed by a lot of things, and unless you've got your regenerative ability at the surface, it's just not worth using. I think its regenerative ability just isn't as good as it could be because most of the time you'll spend playing as it, you'll spend in the deep. It's all right. Tiger Shark. Going invisible is almost invisible is very very useful. It gets 3 boosts, already a big plus. Good damage. It can't face tank, however, and it relies mainly on using that invisibility to get the extra hit that it needs to be able to win. But it does get countered by so many abilities, and it's just not as good as you could be using. Um, Solid A tier if you know how to use it, but for most people, I'd say a B tier, especially since if there are very very good people playing with you, you probably won't be you'll find it very difficult to get higher up. Walrus. Walrus is in a similar situation to the elephant seal, where it's got an interesting ability. It's got a few good plus points, but it is more useful because, well, it does good damage. It's pretty tanky, but it does suffer from the same drawbacks as polar bear, where it can be countered by giant squid very easily, and it has added drawbacks in that it just is outclassed by polar bear. You're better off just going with polar bear. It's better, but it's not a bad class and it's very fun. Whale is S tier. There's not really much to explain here. The way that it being able to suck things into it and to do the extra damage while having a good health pool and pretty damn good damage. It's really good, especially in teams. If you, in Team FFA, combining it with a shark I've seen before, it was that the shark was behind the whale, became pretty much unstoppable when it used its ability, get a fast whale. Whale shark, it's nothing special. It's it's okay if you've got full remoras in a 1v1 situation, but if you don't have your full remoras and or if there is an extra enemy, you just won't do very well. It gets shit on by just about anything because it doesn't have the tankiness, and its remoras are not useful enough for that to work, for it to work viably. Coconut crab, S tier. it's very boring to play, but it's very, very good. Uh, the big negative is that it sinks, and it's best when it stays on the ground. However, its abilities are absolutely fantastic. It's very tanky, not very tanky. It's tanky enough. It's got absolutely fantastic damage, and when you're on the ground, if you get a full charge hit, it will do huge damage, huge damage, and it's able to sink its enemies, make them sink, and that is so useful. It can stop people from breathing. It can make it so that you get the extra hit you need, etc., etc. Colossal squid. Colossal squid gets shit on a bit. Not in the colossal squid gets a bit of a bad rep. I think that it's very useful. It's not bad in the deep. It's very good for fighting deep creatures. But it's not as good as colossal squid. It's just not worth playing. But it is very good in its own niche. It's able to, as long as it can get that extra hit for the bleeding on an enemy, it's pretty damn good. I'll put it in A. Soft shell, not enough experience. I've heard very mixed reviews. A lot of people say that it's amazing. A lot of people say that's shit. From what I've seen, shit, because from the few times I've played it, it hasn't worked. And the few times I've fought against it, it has been very, very easy to kill by everything that I've played. Atlantic Torpedo, very it depends greatly, because in a 1v1 situation, especially like in 1v1s, it's amazing, absolutely fantastic. But but the moment that an extra enemy gets added in, it 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 doesn't have enough health to be able to deal with that. And though its abilities are absolutely amazing. When you have both charges, it has an electric field around which slows enemies. Amazing, absolutely amazing. And when you hit something, it paralyzes them. It's brilliant abilities, but it's not that viable in an FFA setting, which is what we're working on. Basking Shark. It's okay. It's having an area of effect ability, being able to hit everything around it can be incredible in the right situations, especially if you need to get away. It does all right. It does all right damage. It's tanky enough, and it's not a bad deep creature, but it's just outclassed so heavily by Sleeper Shark, Cuckolot, and to a certain extent, even Giant Squid, because Giant Squid has around the same health, all that stuff. It's okay, but it's not that great. Moray Eel, I don't really have much experience with it. Thresher Shark. Thresher Shark, another interesting ability, where it's like a shotgun. If you hit all the shots, it'll do a huge amount of take a huge chunk of health off of the enemy, and it stuns them. It's good, but aside from that, its damage without that is pretty negligible, and its health isn't anything special. Nor is it speed. It's okay, but it's not anything brilliant. I'll give it a B, since I've seen some good ones play it. Bull Shark, I can't say I have much experience from it, but from what I've heard, it's if you're able to get all three things on, it's just about your win anyway. I know it had a nerf recently, so I'd assume it would have been at least an A tier before, but I do not have enough experience with it. And that's it. If you have any critique for my choices, if you think something that I have done something wrong, or that I have misjudged something, just tell me. I'd be happy to hear it. Well, see ya.